Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and for today we have the deck profile for what we took to Locals this past week, being the Chimera Illusion deck. We ended up having lower attendance. A couple of the guys weren't able to make it because of more important commitments. And so we just kind of hung out, talked a little bit. I did get in one duel, though, against Chaos Thunder Dragon, and we actually ended up winning. So we went 1-0 at Locals. So definitely excited to bring this one back eventually in order to see how it does in a tournament. But without any further ado, here's a cut to what it looks like on paper. Then we'll get to the card by card. Okay, I'm also using a new phone for this. I had to get a new one because my old one kind of died. So hopefully this one's camera looks good and everything. But so starting off, we're actually going to go with our Nightmare monsters, being 2 Nightmare Magician. And we're currently on 2 Nightmare Apprentice. I do want to get a third one of this, but I just haven't been able to get my hands on one yet. No one else besides the one I got, like no one at Local since then has had one that they've traded or anything. So I do want to get a third one, but right now I just have the 2. But basically this one is a free special summon by discarding a card, and it searches an illusion, which is again why you want to have 3 of this. I will get the third one eventually. Then 2 Nightmare Magician. Basically, it has 2 main effects. At the start of the damage step, if a different monster other than Nightmare Magician attacks, you get to pop a card on the field that does not target. And then if this card battles a monster, you actually get to just take control of it. And that is not once per turn. The pop is, but the stealing is not once per turn, actually. So that's actually really, really nice. Next, going into our main fusion materials, I've got 2 Big Wing Baphomet and then 3 Gazelle King of Mythical Claws. So I'm running 3 Gazelle because it's a level 4 that you can normal summon, whereas I'm only running 2 Baphomet because it's a level 5, so you don't want to break up your hand. Then we also have a card that can actually recycle the Baphomet. So only having 2 isn't a big deal. So yeah, 3 Gazelle, 3 Gazelle, 2 Baphomet. Baphomet, when it's special summoned, you get to search for Gazelle and Chimera Fusion. Then you're locked into fusions for the rest of the turn. And then when it's used as material for a fusion, you can revive an illusion from your graveyard. Gazelle, when it's summoned, you can search for either a Chimera Fusion or a level 5 Fiend, which of course is going to be your Big Wing Baphomet. Obviously, ideally, you would be summoning the Baphomet to get the double search instead. And then when it's sent to the grave as fusion material, you get to search an illusion monster. So you get a search and a revive just from using these 2. That, of course, is going to help you climb up into your big fusion monsters. And speaking of the illusions that you're going to be searching for and reviving off of these, for the most part, we've got 3 copies of Mirror Sword Knight and 3 copies of Cornfield Codal. So basically, Codal, you get to discard it to search for a monster that mentions Chimera Fusion in its card text. That's usually going to be your Sword Knight. And then both of these guys also have a negation effect on the field or graveyard while you have Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, either on your field or in your graveyard. You can banish them in order to, for Codal, you banish it to negate and destroy an effect that targets a card you control. And then Mirror Sword Knight, you can banish to negate a monster effect that is activated on your opponent's field. And then this one also has another effect where you can tribute it as a quick effect, and the tribute is for cost, in order to special summon a monster from your deck that mentions Chimera Fusion, normally that's going to be your Baphomet, so you can get the double search. And then also, just as a disclaimer, all of the illusions in this deck have what's commonly referred to as the illusion clause, where they cannot be destroyed by battle, and they also cannot destroy anything else by battle. So they all the illusions in this deck have that. I'm just not going to mention it anymore because that would take too much time. Also running 2 copies of Master Tau the Chanter. Basically, when it's used as a fusion material, you get to revive an illusion from your graveyard in defense position. You're locked into illusions from the graveyard, so you can only special summon illusion monsters from your graveyard after you use that effect. But usually that's not really going to come up. So this is good for, like, say, when you summon your big fusion guy, you use this, and, like, let's just say Nightmare Magician in your hand, then you can use this effect to revive the Nightmare Magician back from your graveyard. So that's really nice, being able to capitalize on that. And finally, rounding out the monsters, we have 3 copies of Emissary from the House of Wax. So this one, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit there. So for this one, you can special summon it from your hand when your opponent's monster declares an attack. And then at the end of the battle phase, it gets an effect where it makes all of your opponent's monsters that they currently control unable to be used for fusion, synchro, exes, or link material. Their effects are negated, and they cannot change their battle positions. So that's a really nice way to just kind of shut off your opponent's follow-up plays there. We are currently on 3 of this, but I would actually cut this down to 2 for the 3rd Nightmare Apprentice. So hopefully the next time we take this deck to locals, we'll actually have the 3rd Nightmare Apprentice. So that way we can cut this down to 2. Okay, and so that's it for the main deck monsters. So let's move on to the spells. And we've heard it mentioned so many times, so we're going to start off with our 3 copies of Chimera Fusion. So it is a quick play spell, but it can only be activated during the main phase. It allows you to fusion summon a fusion monster using monsters from hand or field, including at least 1 beast or fiend monster. And then it does have a graveyard effect. It technically has 2, but in this particular build, only 1 is able to be activated, which is to add it to your hand. So the activation of Chimera Fusion from your hand to fusion summon is actually not once per turn. The only thing that's a hard once per turn is adding it back to your hand from your graveyard, as long as you have one of the Chimera forms on your field or in your graveyard. So if you open all 3 Chimera Fusion, you can actually use all 3 in the same turn. You can just only add one of them back, if that makes sense. So yeah, really nice and versatile card there. I'm also running 3 copies of Fusion Armament. So I absolutely love this card. I think it's great. And I also use this in my Flame Swordsman deck. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen that one as well. But basically, you reveal a fusion monster in your extra deck, special summon one of the fusion materials that is specifically named in the summoning condition of the fusion monster, and special summon it with its effects negated and is unable to attack. So basically, with this, we reveal this guy, Chimera the Illusion Beast, and summon the original Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast. So that way we can just have extra bodies for more fusion summons. Next is a card that I really, really like. It's super gimmicky, so I might catch some heat for playing this card because it is so gimmicky, but that's why I love it, because if you can get it to resolve, it's absolutely hilarious. And that's 3 copies of Eye of Illusion. So if you have an illusion or a spellcaster monster, which in this deck means if we have an illusion on our field, we get to activate one of 3 effects. Only one of them is really relevant, though. I mean, I guess technically you can make your illusion monsters unable to be destroyed by battle if your whole board gets hit with like a forbidden droplet or a dark ruler or something. So I guess it does have some application with that. But the main application is actually the last 2 effects. So during your opponent's turn, you can target a face-up monster that your opponent controls and take control until the end phase. So if there's a really important combo piece that they need in order to go into something else, you can actually just activate this and steal it to kind of stop them in their tracks. Or, my favorite of the 3 effects is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you target one of their other monsters, and you basically force the attacking monster to attack their other monster. So, like, let's just say, like, I guess we'll just use these 2 as an example. Like, say your opponent has one emissary of the wax and a Master Tau, both in attack position. They declare an attack with Master Tau. You activate Eye of Illusion. You target the wax, and then their copy of Tau has to then attack their copy of wax. And they'll still take all the battle damage from that too. So not only is it free monster removal of one of their monsters, but they also take damage. So I think it's really, really funny. And again, is it the best? Probably not. But I really like it just because it's so gimmicky and stupid. So, you know, that's just kind of my style. I really like the wacky stuff. So, you know, that's just how it is. And next is one of the generic Fusion support cards that we run. I'm running 3 copies of Fusion Recycling Plant. And then I'm also going to show the one polymerization we have. And for those that are wondering, this is a collector's rare polymerization from Rarity Collection 2. I got it from my buddy Ray, Yu-Gi-Oh! NYC on Instagram. Shoutouts to him for this absolutely gorgeous polymerization. I love, love, love this collector's rare poly. It's so beautiful. So yeah, shoutouts to Ray for that. But anyways, so we're running 3 of this. So basically, you can discard 1 card to add polymerization from your deck or grave to your hand. And that's kind of why we only run 1. I'll also get to why we run 1 here in a bit, because it really only works with 1 certain monster. And I mean, also because we can use Chimera Fusion twice in a turn, so the polymerization can just get redundant in multiples. But so yeah, so we're starting with just the 1 poly, and also because it's searchable and recurable Fusion Recycling Plant. And then this also, during the end phase, recycles a fusion material monster from your graveyard to your hand. So even if you use the Chimera Fusion Quick Play during your opponent's turn, you get to add something back to your hand during the end phase, so that's really nice. Next, going on to just some of the generic limited spells. 1 Reasoning, because there are a few different levels in here. 1 Foolish Burial for graveyard setup. 1 Terraforming to search the Fusion Recycling Plant. And 1 Monster Reborn just to get whatever monster we want back from the graveyard. Alright, and then next, rounding out the main deck, we only have 1 named trap card in here, and that's 3 copies of Mirage Mirror Force. And so, yes, I know it's a battle trap. People are going to be like, oh, this is bad, but it's because it's gimmicky. Okay, I love the gimmicks. So, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you get special and illusion from your hand or grave, and if you do, bounce the attacking monster back to the hand. And then if a face-up illusion monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you get to banish this from your graveyard to special and illusion from your hand or grave. So it just kind of helps you maintain board presence while also punishing your opponent for attacking. So that's really funny. And yeah, that's it for the main deck. So let's go on to the extra deck. So starting off with the extra deck, I am actually running 2 of the Illusion Xyz monster, Heretical Phobos. And it takes 2 level 4 monsters. And basically, to get all the benefits, one of them needs to be an illusion. And so the possibility does exist where you can have, like, say, a Mirror Sword Knight plus a Gazelle or a Codal on your field, and you can overlay into this guy. All right, but so you're not really doing that much, but the possibility does exist. So it is just a nice little option, especially if you're in a really grindy game and you can't get to your fusions. This guy is kind of like a plan C, pretty much, because like your main fusion line is plan A, then like Nightmare Magician is plan B, and then this guy is plan C. But basically, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects. Then if it battled this turn, you can take control of it until the end of the turn, and that is a quick effect while it has an illusion as material. And it does have the standard illusion clause as well. So yeah, it's just a really nice way to try to get some extra damage in, interrupt your opponent's plays. Again, it's not going to come up that much, but it's pretty good for a plan C. All right, and then next, 3 copies of the original Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast. This is just for fusion armament. That's basically all there is to it. Next, 3 copies of Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts. So this and the 2 fusions we're going to talk about after this all have a continuous effect that state this card's name becomes Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast while on the field or in the graveyard. So I'm only going to mention it here, but the next 2 also have that effect. And then when it's fusion summoned, you get to activate an effect where during the end phase of the turn, 1 random card gets sent from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. So that's good for going first. You can try to disrupt their hand, maybe get some knowledge. And then it does have a quick effect in the graveyard, where you can banish it to target a beast, fiend, or illusion in your grave and special summon it. So that's good for recursion. Just something really nice to be able to kind of keep in your back pocket. And next is 3 copies of Baphomet the King, or excuse me, Mythical King of Phantom Beasts. So this one, oh, and then this guy here, he just requires a beast and a fiend. This one requires any 2 monsters that are beast, fiend, or illusion, as long as the 2 monsters have different types. And so he's treated as the OG Chimera while on field or in grave, and then when he's fusion summoned, you get to Foolish Burial a beast, fiend, or illusion monster. That works really well with Master Tau, also being able to then revive something else from your graveyard that's an illusion. And then it does have a 3rd effect here, where during your opponent's turn, you can banish this from your graveyard to target one of your banished beast, fiend, or illusion monsters and special summon it. So this is actually really good, like during your follow-up turn, where, say, if you've banished Mirror Sword Knight or Cornfield Codal, you can actually get those back with this guy. So that's really nice. I mean, it does have to be during your opponent's turn, unfortunately, but since it's an illusion monster, if you're especially like, say, the Sword Knight, it's an illusion monster, so it can't be destroyed by battle. So you do have that going for you. And then finally, 3 copies of Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast. This is the last of the ones that are treated as the OG Chimera. He just takes the Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast and at least 1 illusion monster as material. And so basically, for every fusion monster, or for every fusion material monster that is used to summon him, he gains an extra attack. So if I use 4 fusion materials, he can attack 4 times. The only drawback is that he can only attack monsters with that. So I can't attack directly 4 times. I can only attack the once. But if he has a monster on the field, I can attack that 4 times. But then he's 3,100 to start with, which really helped us out in our game against Chaos Thunder Dragon. because he couldn't summon anything bigger than this. So, well, technically he did because he summoned Thunder Dragon Titan, but he couldn't kill it in battle. So he was like, "Oh crap!" So yeah, that was kind of funny. But then at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can change that opponent's monster attack to 0 and negate its effects. So basically, the idea is when you're going second, you summon this big old guy here. You attack a bunch of, so like you attack, you activate its effect, change that opponent's monster's attack to 0 and negate its effects, and then you just attack that same monster over and over again to OTK your opponent. And then finally, there is one more card in the extra deck, running one Guardian Chimera. I mean, it's not like an illusion Chimera, but it does technically have Chimera in the name. So it's technically a part of the archetype, I guess. It's close enough. And so it just takes 3 monsters with different names. And then it can only be summoned using monsters that are in your hand or on your field. And at least one of them has to come from each place. And then if it's summoned or fusion summoned, you get to draw cards equal to the number of cards used as material from your hand, and then destroy cards your opponent controls equal to the number of cards used as material from the field. So say if I use 2 monsters on the field and 1 in the hand, I get to pop 2 and draw 1. So that's really nice. And then while Polymerization is in your graveyard, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. So that is actually the main reason why we are running the Poly, is to try to give Guardian Chimera that extra layer of protection, so that way it can't be targeted by card effects, in addition to just being another resource to help fusion summon. But, yeah. That's actually going to be it for the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to play, and it's actually really, really solid, too. Like for example, like at locals, I was able to defeat Bestial Thunder Dragon. I mean, granted, it was just a best of 1, because the shop was going to close early since there weren't that many people there, and we weren't going to do an official tournament, but still, the fact I was able to actually not only put up a fight, but win, and then even in some of the online games I've played to try to get ready for locals, I was beating stuff like Tenpai and stuff like that. So, like, this is a really solid deck. It's really fun. It's really easy to learn. Really fun. It's not really all that expensive either. I think the only thing that's really expensive is the Nightmare Apprentice. It's like $30 on its own, which is part of the reason why I haven't gotten a third one yet, because I don't feel like dropping $30 on a single card. But yeah, great deck, really fun. And yeah, so that's going to be it. Like, subscribe, vote in the locals poll, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time.